Yo Gotti just got handed a heavy sentence in connection to Young Dolph's murder. And honestly, nobody's shocked, especially after the shooter confessed that it was Gotti's own brother who paid to have Dolph taken out.
You had a hit on whose head?
Big Juke had a hit on Dolph head and whatnot.
How much money was it supposed to be?
100,000 on Dolph head.
Apparently, all of it was done at Gotti's request. I've got the full breakdown. Let's get into it. This is the blood money conspiracy that shook Memphis to its core. For years, the streets of Memphis have been holding their breath, watching a deadly game of chess unfold between two rap empires that simply couldn't coexist in the same city. And now, with the smoke finally cleared and the verdicts handed down, the truth behind Young Dolph's assassination has come to light, and all roads lead back to a feud that should have never reached this point. The bitter rivalry between Adolph Thornton Jr., better known as Young Dolph, and Mario Mims, aka Yo Gotti. The beef between Dolph and Gotti kicked off around 2014, slowly boiling over with diss tracks, sneak shots, and real-life gunplay. But this wasn't just about music. It was about power, respect, and street-level dominance. In Memphis, that kind of tension can turn deadly fast when pride starts outrunning common sense. Everything came crashing down during the most explosive murder trial Memphis has seen in years. When prosecutors laid out their case, it played out like a real-life crime documentary, step by step, blow by blow. On September 26, 2024, Justin Johnson, also known as Straight Drop, was convicted of first-degree murder and conspiracy. He was sentenced to life in prison plus 35 years. But that wasn't even the craziest part. That conviction was just the tip of the iceberg. The real bombshell came when Cornelius Smith, one of the alleged shooters, flipped on his co-defendants and spilled every detail to save himself. According to court records reported by Fox 13, Smith testified that Johnson was the second gunman, and the hit was supposed to come with a promised payout of $40,000. But after it was all said and done, Smith claims he walked away with only $500.
He gave her $500 in a left.
$500 in the letter.
Yeah.
And obviously you're supposed to get $40,000,
Right.
but you got $500 in the letter.
That courtroom testimony landed like an explosion. It connected the final pieces prosecutors had been trying to fit together for years. But things took a shocking turn when Smith didn't just admit to being one of the shooters, he dropped a bombshell. He revealed that Anthony Big Juke Mims, the brother of rapper Yo Gotti, had put a $100,000 hit on Young Dolph. That kind of money isn't regular street beef cash. That's cartel level money. It showed just how badly they wanted Dolph gone. The prosecutors laid out a timeline that was cold, calculated, and strategic. According to Smith, he sat in on meetings with Govan and Big Juke, where the plan to kill Dolph was openly discussed. And it wasn't just personal, it was business. Smith testified that the hit was tied to a promise. If Johnson pulled it off, he'd earn a deal with CMG. So, taking Dolph out was about more than settling a score. It was about eliminating someone who stood in the way of CMG's rise, someone who couldn't be bought or controlled. The evidence backed it all up, starting with the surveillance footage that captured Dolph's last moments in horrifying detail.
So Dolph,
Yes, sir.
the chain around his neck, is that the PRE chain?
Yes, sir.
The one that we saw in the exhibit?
Yes, sir.
And there's Marcus behind him?
Yes, sir.
The footage captured Dolph in his final moments, calm, unaware, and at peace, completely oblivious to the fact that killers were seconds away from ending his life over a feud that had been brewing for nearly 10 years. Surveillance video from the scene showed a white Mercedes pulling up and then the gunman jumping out. Johnson held a handgun, while Smith was strapped with what looked like military-grade weaponry. The way it all unfolded wasn't some spontaneous street altercation. This was a coordinated hit, carried out with deadly precision and the kind of resources that only serious money can provide. But the most devastating part came from those who knew and loved Dolph the most. His longtime partner, Mia J, has been carrying not only her own grief, but the impossible weight of helping their children navigate the trauma of losing their father to senseless violence.
Kids, to be honest, they're doing a lot better. I was listening to this interview the other day with Charleston White, and he was talking about the effects of like young boys or whatever, but he was so angry.
The pain in Mia J's voice as she described how their son changed after losing his father cuts deeper than any diss track or street feud ever could.
When I tell you like Stellar Child, he was that. But he was so angry, and like I'm talking about like if I was like, give me the phone, he like no. Like, he want to step up to me, anybody, he'll step up to anybody.
This is the real cost of hip-hop violence. Not just the loss of talent, but the shattering of families and the deep trauma etched into children who'll carry those scars for life. What makes this conspiracy even more disturbing is that Smith, who was promised $40,000 to take a life, ended up with just $500, delivered in a letter he later flushed. Imagine that, throwing away your entire future, tearing apart lives, and all you got was pocket change. Meanwhile, the ones who ordered the hit kept living like kings in mansions and Bentleys.
What'd you do with the letter?
I flushed down the toilet in the hotel room.
The money trail didn't end with the hitman's weak payout. Prosecutors revealed that CMG covered $50,000 in legal fees for Smith, raising serious questions about how deep the label's involvement really ran. Why would a major entertainment company bankroll a murder suspect's defense if they had no connection to the crime? The autopsy report was beyond brutal. Young Dolph was hit 22 times. That kind of overkill says it all. This wasn't about sending a warning. It was pure rage. It was hatred taken to the extreme. This wasn't just a hit. It was an erasure, a calculated effort to wipe him out completely. Years of resentment, jealousy, and pride exploded in a storm of bullets meant to destroy him body and legacy. The trial also pulled the curtain back on Hernandez Govan, alleged mastermind and still awaiting trial, who was painted as the puppet master connecting Big Jook's blood money to the street soldiers ready to pull the trigger. From hiring the shooters to mapping out the attack, Govan allegedly coordinated every move. But the most chilling part, just days before the murder, Young Dolph was out in his city doing what he always did, giving back, showing love to the community, and living like he had no idea death was waiting around the corner.
My auntie love y'all, but my grandmama came here, my uncle came here, like, I got like a family history thing going on coming through here. So I just want to really, like give y'all flowers, y'all know y'all appreciate it, you know what I'm saying? From the bottom of my heart,
That clip shows exactly the kind of man Young Dolph was. Someone who never forgot where he came from and always gave back to those who stood by his family during tough times. While others were secretly planning his death, Dolph was out in the community showing love, completely unaware that the clock was ticking on his life. The conspiracy runs even deeper when you look at how calculated and timed everything was. In January 2024, Big Jook, Yo Gotti's brother, was murdered outside a Memphis restaurant, taking any remaining secrets he might have held straight to the grave. That hit raised even more questions. Was it retaliation for Dolph's murder, or was someone trying to silence him before he talked? The prosecution's case didn't just rely on emotional testimony. They had hard evidence, cell phone records, digital footprints, and witness statements, especially from Smith, that clearly tied the suspects to a coordinated, premeditated execution. These weren't random street actions. This was an organized hit with layers of communication and planning. And Yo Gotti? He hasn't exactly stayed out of the spotlight. With his brother allegedly funding the hit and CMG accused of covering legal fees for the shooters, it paints a chilling picture. A record label acting more like a crime syndicate, handling business in the streets with a deadly level of control. Anyone who dared to stand in the way of CMG's dominance seemed to face the same fate. Ruthless, calculated, silent.
7 years old at the time? 7 years old, talking about, or 8 years old. I'm tired of not letting him, like making him feel like I'm scared of him. And I was like, I don't think he think you scared of him. He was like, well, I'm gonna speak up. He spoke up, he stepped to the dude. He got picked up by his little karate suit up in the air about 6 feet off the ground. I recognized my son after his father passed up until like probably the beginning of this year. So angry, and it was never that child. Like when I tell you like stellar child, he was that. But he was so angry, and like I'm talking about like if I was like, give me the phone, he like no. Like he want to step up to me, anybody. He'll step up to anybody.
My artist, Big Moochie, great. He's from the east side, he's from East Memphis, so we'll be in East Memphis, like everybody, we be passing out turkeys all over the city.
We've come to the end, fam. For more powerful stories like this, be sure to click on the card showing on the screen. Young Dolph's murder wasn't just some rap beef. It was a bold public assassination that shook the entire city and left Memphis grieving. Now, fresh details are emerging and the streets are buzzing louder than ever. How much money was on the table? Reportedly, $100,000. That's right, a whole 100 bands to take out one of Memphis's most respected icons. But the real question is, who funded the hit? Was it really Gotti behind it? Let's break it all down. The alleged hit and what truly happened in the tragic killing of Young Dolph. On November 17th, 2021, the rap world lost a real one. Memphis legend Young Dolph was fatally shot while grabbing cookies at Makita's homemade butter cookies in his hometown. The Paper Route Empire boss was simply stopping by to pick up some snacks before a Thanksgiving turkey giveaway he had organized for the community. That's the kind of man Dolph was, always giving back to the same streets that raised him. But someone had different intentions, and they were deadly.
Memphis police chief is asking everyone to stay home tonight after rapper Young Dolph is gunned down and killed at a South Memphis cookie shop.
The Delta stands as one of the most dangerous and neglected regions in America. It's a stretch of land where poverty runs deep, the air stays thick with humidity, and swarms of mosquitoes are just part of daily life. Crumbling infrastructure and high rates of disease paint a grim picture, and that's before you even mention the violence. This region extends from Louisiana through Mississippi and Alabama, reaching into western Tennessee. For those unfamiliar, the Delta holds the highest poverty and violent crime rates rates in the entire country by far. The danger isn't just noticeable, it's overwhelming compared to anywhere else you could find yourself. The cities scattered throughout this region tell the story clearly. Baton Rouge, New Orleans, Jackson, Mobile, Birmingham, Shreveport, and towering above them all in size and reputation, Memphis, Tennessee. If you've never stepped foot in this part of the country, it's impossible to truly grasp the reality. The Delta isn't just struggling, it's on a different level entirely.
The last week has felt like an eternity for a Memphis woman.
No, my kids can't even go outside no more.
A simple act this mother no longer takes for granted after she and her uncle were shot outside of her home on Eldridge Avenue. This all stemmed from an argument at the B52 market where a man allegedly threatened to kill her after she confronted him about her child. She says the man then followed her home and opened fire.
Charges for the deadly crime spree in Memphis during Super Bowl Sunday. Cordarian Kraft was indicted on 48 counts, including first-degree murder and aggravated assault. During the crime spree, Kraft shot and killed one man, hurt 2 women, and carjacked 2 other people. That weekend in February, Kraft had been out on a $100,000 bond after being accused in a separate robbing and shooting this past November.
The last week has felt like an eternity for a woman in Memphis. My kids can't even go outside no more, she says, a simple act she no longer takes for granted. It all changed after she and her uncle were shot outside their home on Eldridge Avenue. The violence stemmed from a confrontation at the B52 market, where she says a man threatened to kill her after she stood up to him about something involving her child. Moments later, that same man allegedly followed her home and opened fire.
I opened the deep freezer to get a popsicle, stack some money in the deep freezer. If they drop me off over my auntie house to play with my cousin, they stack some money in they shit.
Violent crime in Memphis has spiraled completely out of control. To put things into perspective, in 2024, San Francisco, a city with a population of 850,000, recorded just 35 homicides. Meanwhile, Memphis, with only 600,000 residents, saw a staggering 357 homicides during that same period. That gives Memphis a homicide rate nearly 3 times higher than Chicago and 9 times higher than Los Angeles. It's a terrifying reality, but it hasn't always been this way. There was a time when Memphis thrived as a strong, middle-class city famous for its rock and roll, blues, and world-class barbecue. It had a booming military training base and served as a major trading hub along the Mississippi River. The city also played a pivotal role in the civil rights movement. But ironically, that same movement marked the beginning of its decline. As the push for equality gained ground in the 1960s, the white population of Memphis began leaving in droves. The exodus was swift and dramatic. In 1960, the city was 91% white. By 1990, that number had plummeted to just 24%. And while this shift wasn't about race, the consequences of such a massive population loss were devastating. With fewer residents came less tax revenue. Schools began shutting down, police departments lost funding, companies relocated, and the city entered a downward spiral that never truly stopped. Walk around Memphis today and you'll see the aftermath: abandoned homes, failing schools, widespread unemployment, and a glaring absence of law enforcement. In 2023, the city solved only 31% of its murders, compared to the national average of 65%. Memphis has become one of the hardest places in America to grow up in, and an even harder place to escape from. It's a place where success can paint a target on your back, where jealousy among friends can turn deadly, and where there's no structure, no rules, no mentors, just chaos. Welcome to the war zone that Memphis has become. This story begins in North Memphis, deep in the notorious Ridgecrest apartments, infamous for all the wrong reasons. It's here that a boy named Mario Mims was born in 1981. From the very beginning, Mario's life was wrapped in turmoil, not just in the streets outside, but inside the walls of his own home. As a young child, he witnessed his parents cooking and dealing drugs right there in the apartment scenes no child should ever be exposed to.
My grandma was she was little, she wasn't a little bitty ladies, you know what I'm saying? Then she older, but man, my grandmama don't play no game. I'm talking about, it's like, nah, it ain't even about the ass whoop. She would do that when I was little, but she still had this fear that made me fear her even when I was in high school and got grown and older. You feel me? Like, she give you that look, or she got this, she'd cuss you out in a second and not even think about it.
Despite growing up in a toxic environment, Mario Mims, known today as Yo Gotti, was a sharp kid who managed to succeed in school. But when his teenage years hit, things changed. He was basically out on his own and had to grow up fast. At just 14, Gotti started hustling in the unforgiving streets of Memphis. He wasn't going in blind, he had learned the game directly from his family, and he played it well. The money gave him access to things he'd never dreamed of, like a Mustang GT on Dayton rims and fresh clothes. clothes. That was all that really mattered to him at the time. Still, deep down, Mario knew he didn't want to live the street life forever. He had bigger dreams. Inspired by the success of Memphis rap legends like 3 6 Mafia and 8 Ball and MJG, he saw a different path for himself. By the time he was 15, he was recording music and selling homemade CDs straight out of his trunk. Back then, he went by the name Lil Yo and dropped his first mixtape while still a sophomore in high school in 1996. Mario was relentless. He hustled his mixtapes for 13 straight years. No handouts, no shortcuts, just pure grind. Finally, in 2009, he broke into the mainstream with hits like 5 Star and Women Lie, Men Lie, featuring Lil Wayne. By then, he was in his 30s, a late bloomer in the rap game, but he knew the clock was ticking. He wouldn't be able to rap forever, so he began shifting into boss mode. In 2012, he founded his own label, CMG, which originally stood for Cocaine Money Gang. His vision was clear. He was already a Memphis legend, and he wanted to use that platform to lift up new talent from the city. But things started off slow. For the first 2 years, not a single artist signed with CMG. The interest just wasn't there. No disrespect, but in a world full of superstar labels, signing with Yo Gotti didn't exactly seem like the smartest career move at the time. But if there's one thing Gotti had proven, it was his patience and persistence. Just like with his own career, he was willing to wait for the right moment, the right artist. And that moment came in 2014. Now the story shifts to South Memphis in the infamous Castelia Heights neighborhood, a place where abandoned homes, rats, roaches, and constant gunfire made up the daily soundtrack. This is where Adolph Thornton Jr., better known as Young Dolph, was raised. Although he was born in Chicago, Dolph's roots were planted deep in Memphis. If you know anything about Chicago's black families, many of their grandparents migrated from places like Memphis and Mississippi. Dolph was no exception. His parents were caught up in the streets in Chicago, and knowing the environment wasn't safe for a child, they sent him down south to live with his grandmother. They thought it would offer him a better shot, a safer upbringing. His grandmother was strict and did her best to keep him in line, but the reality was Castelia Heights wasn't much safer than Chicago. In fact, it might have been even worse. Dolph came up from the absolute bottom, and because of that, his grandma fought to keep him disciplined, to keep him from becoming another statistic.
Right now, cuz. We in Castain right now, cuz. What Dolph at, cuz? Where he at, cuz? Where he at? Where he at right now? Where he at? Where he at? Where he at?
Where you at,
Where he
dog?
at? She left, dog.
Where you at, dog?
Where you at? Where you at? We in Castain right now. We just left the store. Where you at right now, dog? Where you at right now? Where you at? Where you at?
CMG, bitch.
I love Castain. Fuck with dog. Yeah, we don't fuck with dog. You fuck with dog, cuz? You fuck with dog, man.
He would later appreciate her discipline, but as a teenager, he didn't understand it and rebelled by jumping into the streets. While still in high school, Dolph started hustling the streets of Memphis and stacking up major paper. But again, just like Gotti, he knew he didn't want to do that forever and had bigger dreams for his life. He wanted to do something with music, but he wasn't sure if he even knew how to rap. That changed in 2008 when his friends got him into the studio and he realized he could actually rap. This became his new hustle and passion, and he began slanging mixtapes in the streets of Memphis. Slowly but surely, he gained traction. But he never had the idea of signing to a label instead. He wanted to start his own, and that's exactly what he did. In 2010, he started his label Paper Route ENT, also known as PRE. Basically, he created his own movement and gained recognition from Gucci Mane, Trey the Truth, Rick Ross, and most importantly, Yo Gotti. Yep, in 2014, Gotti discovered Young Dolph's mixtapes and music videos and saw all the potential in the world. He saw Dolph as Memphis's next superstar, but more importantly, CMG's first real breakout artist. At the time, other than Gotti himself, the CMG label hadn't seen real success. For Gotti, Dolph was the light at the end of the tunnel, the guy who could save the brand. On top of that, he figured Dolph signing with him was a no-brainer. Gotti thought, I'm the biggest, richest boss in Memphis. I can give him a deal he can't turn down. Plus, he believed there was trust between them since Dolph used to move weight with Gotti's older brother Jug. So in 2014, Gotti contacts Dolph and tries to sign him. He obviously expects Dolph to be ecstatic and ready to sign immediately, but that wasn't the case. In fact, Dolph had zero interest in signing with Yo Gotti, no matter how big the bag was. It was nothing personal. Dolph just didn't want to sign to another man. He wanted to be his own boss, so he respectfully declined. No hard feelings, just business. Now this all makes perfect sense, right? But here's where the story turns. It's the summer of 2014, just a couple of months after Dolph turned down Gotti's offer. This is when Dolph makes a surprising move. He signs a deal with a small, upcoming label based in San Francisco, Empire. If you know anything about Empire, you know it's not your typical label. It's more of a distribution company you keep creative control and ownership, while they handle marketing and distribution for a percentage. It's a smart deal for a self-motivated hustler like Dolph. No label breathing down your neck or holding back your moves. But what mattered here wasn't the business structure, it was how Gotti felt. Think about it, Dolph told him, man to man, that he didn't want to sign any deal. Then, just a few months later, he signs one. To Gotti, that meant Dolph lied to his face. And as a boss from the same city, someone who used to do business with his own brother, Gotti felt Dolph should have been more honest and respectful. Now, whether Gotti was right or wrong, this is clearly how he felt. Unfortunately, he took it personally, and from here, tensions started to rise. While Gotti was feeling slighted, Dolph's career was on fire. He dropped hits like Preach, Cut It, and Get Paid. His mixtapes were doing serious numbers. By 2016, Dolph had become a household name, only adding more fuel to the fire. Now, on the outside, this still looked like a business disagreement that got a little heated. But behind the scenes, it was becoming much more than that. Dolph started to feel the pressure and the negative energy, and he'd had enough. So on February 19th, 2016, he decided to make a bold statement. He released his debut studio album titled King of Memphis. The title alone was enough to shake things up. He was publicly declaring that he was the top dog in a city that Yo Gotti had long considered his. As the saying goes, this city's too small for the both of us. Gotti didn't take it lightly, like, oh, you drop a couple of hot records and a few decent tapes and now you think you're running things? It didn't sit right with him. Right or wrong, Gotti saw it as the ultimate disrespect and wanted to prove a point. That brings us to Gotti's new artist at the time, Black Youngsta. To the public, Black Youngsta was a funny, energetic rapper who made club hits you could dance to. But those who knew him in the streets of Memphis knew he was about that life. And right after Dolph dropped King of Memphis, Black Youngsta responded with a message of his own. He recorded himself walking through Dolph's neighborhood, Castelia Heights, sending a not-so-subtle warning. Not so subtle.
This shit G, bro. Dolph, you a soft ass, you nice ass. If you got a problem, nigga, say you got a problem. Shake ass. He ain't no motherfucking king of Memphis. He ain't king of South Memphis.
He then posted a video dissing Dolph, calling him soft, and claiming he wasn't the real king of Memphis.
Now, I mean, you already made your artist use my name to get some attention. I laughed at that. It's funny to me. You see what I'm saying? Right. It's funny to me.
So this is when the beef, up until now unknown to fans and the public, finally spilled onto the internet, grabbing everyone's attention. But according to Dolph, the whole thing caught him off guard. He was genuinely confused, like, we're beefing? Since when? To Dolph, it all seemed like nothing more than a desperate grab for attention. He honestly found it amusing and didn't take it seriously at all.
How do you get it first? How do Yo Gotti get pop and get some attention? Nobody heard of him to win till he dissed 3-6 Mafia.
This is true. Right, okay. Right.
You had to use 3-6 Mafia and dish them to get you some attention.
Right.
You made your artist use my name to get some attention. See what I'm saying?
But beyond just finding it funny, there was a bigger reason why Dolph didn't take it seriously, because in his eyes, Yo Gotti had a long history of doing this. According to Dolph, Gotti built his career off dissing other artists and starting fake beefs just to get attention. So from his perspective, this was nothing new. To him, it was like, oh, I get it. I'm just the latest target in Yo Gotti's clout-chasing playbook.
You hating on him because he wouldn't sign with you? Know what I mean? Right. You hating on him because he popping, and he really popping, and he's still independent. Know what I mean? Right. You hating on him because he really got M's and did the shit without no help.
And to wrap it all up, Dolph made his position clear. He believed Yo Gotti wasn't mad about any deal, any song, or even the King of Memphis title. In Dolph's eyes, it all boiled down to one simple truth. Gotti is just hating on me because I'm successful.
Day party. I was leading a day party. And we was headed to where we was headed to. Pull out a lot on the day party, get up the street. They started shooting, they shot. Shooting was over with. And shit, I had another party to go to that night. You know what I mean? So, shit, we went and did our party that night.
Now you might be thinking this was just silly internet drama, and on the surface it kind of was. But in a city like Memphis, it doesn't take much to escalate things. Once you go on the radio talking about beef or pull up in someone else's neighborhood to throw shots, all that back and forth is out the window. Memphis isn't like other places when it's up, it's really up. And for no real reason at all, Dolph suddenly found himself a major target. There were people in the city fully ready to crash out for Yo Gotti, no questions asked. As you'll see, things only got worse from there, but backing down, that just wasn't in Dolph's DNA. If anything, he went the other way completely. He doubled down and dropped what would go on to become one of the most disrespectful diss tracks in rap history.